A 4-day work week is coming in 2026 and will become the new normal for all employees. The main reason why this change is happening is due to science. Scientists have found that working 5 days a week causes stress, anxiety, and depression. And so to combat this, a 4-day work week was created. But there's more benefits than just improving your mental health. You also get paid more and work more efficiently too. Here's how a 4-day work week will change everything in 2026, starting with number one, how it all began. The concept of a 4-day work week has been discussed since the 1970s. This is because Henry Ford was an advocate for a 30-hour, 4-day work week. He wanted his employees at Ford Motors to enjoy their lives. And so he cut the hours from 48 hours a week down to 40, giving workers every other Saturday off. This was great until World War II, when the government mandated an 8-hour workday to support the war effort. After the war ended, the 40-hour, 5-day work week resumed and has been the standard ever since. That is until now. In 2017, a group of scientists from the University of Utah did a study to see how people felt about their jobs. The results showed that nearly half of all workers were experiencing burnout, and this was leading to high rates of depression, anxiety, and stress. A follow-up study by the same university in 2019 showed that things had gotten worse, with nearly 3/4 of workers feeling overworked. It was then that the university recommended a 4-day work week to help employees maintain good mental health. At first, no companies took this seriously until COVID hit and remote working became the norm. At first, remote working seemed like a great idea. It gave employees more freedom and autonomy. They could be more productive in the comfort of their own homes without the distractions of colleagues. However, many soon came to realize the downsides of working from home. Many felt isolated, lonely, and disconnected from their team. This was especially true for those living alone or without family. In addition to this, many also realized that they weren't spending enough time with their loved ones. And so the 5-day work week, which once seemed ideal, was now seen as the enemy of productivity and employee well-being. To combat this, many companies started to experiment with a 4-day work week. For example, some companies like Microsoft Japan compressed their 5-day workload into 4 days, while others like Unilever Indonesia gave their employees more time each day, but reduced the week from 5 days to 4. Number two, how it works. There are 2 ways to implement a 4-day work week. The first way is to compress 40 hours into 4 days, making each day 10 hours long. The second way is to reduce the hours each day from 8 to 6, giving workers every other Friday or Monday off. Both methods are equally effective when it comes to increasing productivity and employee satisfaction. But one thing to note is that you cannot simply make the workday 10 hours long without providing breaks. Studies show that if you work over 6 hours without a break, your brain starts to shut down, leading to lower levels of productivity. So what many companies are doing instead is starting the workday earlier, say 7 a.m., and adding an extra hour at the end of the day, ending it at 7 p.m. Then the worker takes a 1-hour unpaid break somewhere in between. As for the second option of having longer weekends, this gives workers more time to rest, recharge, and spend time with their families. But it also gives them more time to work on personal projects, volunteer, or take care of household chores. Number 3, who's already using it? In 2022, Perpetual Guardian, a New Zealand-based company, became the first in the world to adopt a 4-day work week. Their employees work 40 hours over 4 days and receive 1 extra day off every month. The company reported a 20% increase in productivity after the switch. Soon other companies followed suit. For example, UK-based companies such as Michelin, the tire manufacturer, and accountancy firm PwC have adopted a 4-day work week for their staff. US-based companies like Salesforce and 3 Meters have done the same. And in India, companies such as Wipro, Genpact, and Ion Exchange India have moved to a 4-day work week. Now, many of these companies have only adopted a 4-day work week for their offices in certain countries. For example, Salesforce is only 4-day work week for their India office, while the rest of the world is still 5 days. But as we move into 2026, more and more companies around the world are adopting a 4-day work week. Number 4, the benefits. There are many benefits to a 4-day work week. For example, employees are happier and experience less stress, anxiety, and burnout. They also have more time to pursue their passions, hobbies, and side hustles. Not only this, but productivity also increases because employees are more focused and efficient. On top of this, a 4-day work week is better for the environment. With one less day of commuting and energy consumption, you can do your part to save the planet. Also, when you hire international employees, a 4-day work week helps bridge the gap between different time zones. In fact, a survey conducted by software company Personas found that 69% of global knowledge workers are open to reducing their work hours if it meant they could have an extra day off each week. Moreover, 61% of respondents said that they would even accept a salary cut of 5% for a 30-hour, 4-day work week. Number 5, the drawbacks. Although there are many benefits to a 4-day work week, there are also some drawbacks. For example, some employees may not be able to balance their work life with a 4-day work week. Those with families may struggle to arrange for childcare or elder care on the longer work days. Also, some industries such as healthcare and emergency services cannot function with a 4-day work week. This is because there is always a need for someone to be available on the longer work days. Another drawback is that a 4-day work week may lead to longer hours per day, which can result in burnout. To avoid this, it is important to schedule breaks and encourage employees to take time off. Finally, a 4-day work week may not be suitable for all businesses. For example, businesses that operate in multiple time zones may find it difficult to coordinate a 4-day work week for all employees. Number 6, should you switch to a 4-day work week? The decision of whether or not to switch to a 4-day work week is a difficult one. There are pros and cons to consider, and ultimately it is up to each individual business to decide what works best for them. However, if you are looking to improve employee morale, increase productivity, or reduce your carbon footprint, then switching to a 4-day work week may be a good option for you. Number 7, how much will you get paid? One of the biggest questions that people have about a 4-day work week is how much they will get paid. Will they be paid the same amount if they work one less day? The answer is yes. If you work a compressed 4-day work week, where you work 10 hours a day for 4 days, you will be paid the same amount as if you worked 8 hours a day for 5 days. However, if you work a longer weekend where you work 8 hours a day for 4 days and have 1 day off every month, you may be paid slightly less. This is because you will have taken 1 day off every month. However, this is usually offset by the fact that you will have had 1 extra day to rest and recharge, which means that you will be more productive when you do work. Ultimately, it is up to each individual company to decide how they will pay their employees if they switch to a 4-day work week. And number 8, what does the future look like? More and more companies are switching to a 4-day work week. In fact, by 2026, it is estimated that 50% of all companies will have switched to a 4-day work week. This means that if you want to stay competitive, you will need to consider switching to a 4-day work week as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more weekly business videos.